Exposing sacred temple symbols on the internet is like someone throwing bacon grease on a mosque. It is a deep act of hateful sacrilege. Nemo even wore a white temple outfit in a photo full of ex-Mormons mocking the Last Supper picture just to spit in the face of the church. And yet he still acts as if his excommunication was unjustified. Asking Nemo about the church is like asking a woman who cheated about her now ex-husband.
Hey everybody, I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take 2, where I share my firsthand insider experience from within the Mormon Church as a disaffected member. I want to start this video by sincerely asking for your thoughts on this topic. Whether you're Mormon or not Mormon, or Catholic or atheist, or whatever you are, is it disrespectful for people to talk about religions in general, especially if you're exposing things that the religion itself typically keeps under wraps? And are the experiences, stories, thoughts, perspectives of former members of religions invalid? Is it like a wife who cheated on her husband having an opinion on her ex-husband? And just in case you're interested in my opinion, let me share it with you. I don't think that religion should ever get a free pass. I don't think that religion should ever be immune from outside scrutiny. Let me tell you how I came to that conclusion. I was a girl who just happened to be born into the Mormon Church, into a huge family where Mormonism was our entire identity. And as I walked through 44 years of Mormonism, from childhood into young adulthood, into a Mormon college, and then 24 years of a very, very religious trad wife marriage, I knew that throughout my life as a Mormon, I often had this nagging feeling in my gut that I was being asked to do things that were on the spectrum of wrongness. Sometimes just this is annoying and this is asking me to self-abandon just a little bit or act in a way that's not authentic or congruous to my core values. Sometimes doing things were unethical, and at times diving full-blown into illegality. But when I was inside the Mormon Church, there was nobody that I could really talk to about those things. And if I did talk to anybody about it, I was told to pray more. I was told to read my scriptures just a little bit more intentionally. I was told to give it all to Heavenly Father and doubt my doubts, and He would make them disappear. So I spent 44 years in the Mormon Church experiencing injustices that I then self-gaslit to erase, and not having anyone else to share anything with. Then I left the Mormon Church in 2018, and I again had nobody to share anything with because TikTok didn't exist yet, and I wasn't internet savvy. And as I deconstructed the church, I had one person that I could share things with, my sister, who had deconstructed a little bit ahead of me and was afraid to tell anyone in the family because she didn't want to be shunned like what would eventually happen to me. All of a sudden, I wasn't just living in a vacuum. I had this other person on the other end of the phone that I could call up and say, what do you think about Joseph Smith's polygamy? What do you think about the fact that there were 14-year-old and 15-year-old girls, that Zina Huntington was an 18-year-old who was 8 months pregnant, who was happily married to her husband, when Joseph Smith commanded her to marry him and told her that an angel with a flaming sword came down to him, and if she didn't marry him, that it was going to unalive him, and then the church would no longer have a prophet, and that would be on her. And my sister on the other end of the phone would say, this is total bullshit, Jenny. This guy's a creeper. And I can't even tell you how amazing it was to finally cut through the gaslighting and the darvo and the secrecy that is Mormonism and hear somebody else say, yeah, this probably isn't okay. Then all of a sudden, the pandemic hits and Musically morphs into TikTok, and my kids put TikTok on my phone for me when I was very, very sick. And I just happened to see one guy, his name's Mitch Shura, doing these funny little Mormon prophet impersonations. And it blew my mind that an ex-Mormon was spilling the very sacred tea very publicly. And I don't know if I can even describe for my viewers what that did to me on the inside. After 44 years of looking around going, this person's hurting me and that person's hurting me and this isn't okay and this doesn't seem right. And none of us should be doing this and this shouldn't even be a thing, but there's no oversight because we don't have religious oversight. Religions just oversee themselves. God is watching everything. And watching Mitch and his irreverent videos about the Mormon prophets was one of the most singularly healing experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. In that moment, I felt seen. I felt like somebody else had witnessed the things that I had witnessed. The emperor actually didn't have any clothes, and that guy over there knew it, and we were able to talk about it. Just on a whim, one day after therapy, I opened up my phone and inadvertently became one of the pioneers of Ex-Mormon TikTok and created this space that Jacob Hansen has so many problems with. I did some of the very first temple videos on TikTok, and they reached millions of people. And in the comment section were people saying, I had that horrible thing happen to me, and I didn't feel like that was right. And I hated that I had to take that oath. And as we all came together and shared our stories, we all experienced this group healing that every one of us very much need. I personally don't talk about Mormonism on social media out of disrespect for the Mormon people, but out of a deep respect that I have for humanity and the confidence that I have that Mormonism is so harmful that I must warn others about it. And this is actually how human beings evolutionarily are hardwired. We are hardwired that if I ate that mushroom and it gave me diarrhea for days and I almost died, I'm going to tell other people, don't eat that mushroom. If I stuck my hand in that cactus and it gave me gangrene, I'm going to let everybody else in my tribe know that cactus is dangerous. After we communicate negative experiences to one another as warning is why Homo sapiens are still on the planet today. It's literally why we're still here. Hardwired into that warning system that we have as humans is kind of a sliding ratio of how much energy we put into warning people. If it was just mildly uncomfortable, we may tell a couple of friends. But if something was life-threatening, we instinctively shout that to the world. Don't eat the mushroom. This is an interesting phenomenon that I've noted in the post-religious community of which I am a huge part. I reach between 8 and 10 million people globally per month on all of my platforms. I participate in huge groups and organizations where I hear a lot of feedback from those who have left a wide variety of religions. And one thing stands out to me. The worse the cult, the louder they scream, it's warning. My partner is Lutheran, and he always jokes, there's no ex-Luth TikTok. There doesn't need to be. His congregation never harmed him. Growing up Lutheran in a very liberal, very Jesus just loves you just the way you are type of religious organization, he was never harmed by religion. Instinctively, he doesn't need to warn anybody about what happened. I, on the other hand, do. When I was a 20-year-old girl, I went to the Mormon temple for what I thought was going to be a wedding. I was stripped naked in this weird, heavenly sort of marble-encrusted locker room with a little sheet with slits down the side put over my naked body, protesting verbally that I wanted my white panties and my white bra because I was a 20-year-old girl on her period and I needed my pad, and I did not want to be in this white sheet not having any idea where I was going without that pad. I was horrified. It was so distressing that I was still talking about it with a therapist just 4 years ago at age 47. I was then taken into a tiny room and seated on a marble initiatory altar, which was a distinctive feature of the Portland, Oregon temple. Not all temples had it. And then a total stranger, a grandma with slightly tinged purple hair and long, frosty nails, rubbed me down on my bare skin, head to toe without my consent. As she went from my collarbone to my ribs, she nicked my nipple with her nail. She would rub water and oil across my loins, all the way down my legs, the bottoms of my feet, the tips of my fingers. Without my consent, without anyone asking me if I wanted that to happen. What she did to me is non-consensual sexual touch. It is illegal. And when I told my bishop about it, when I talked to my husband about it, nobody cared. It was done in the name of God. So I have devoted my life to speaking up about what happened to me in that temple so that it never happens to anybody else. And by the way, speaking up is exactly what removed that temple ordinance from the temple. It no longer happens. But it happened to me, and just because I'm no longer Mormon anymore doesn't mean that I've lost all integrity, all credibility, and that my review of the Mormon church should be invalid any more than somebody who didn't like the tennis shoes they bought on Amazon shouldn't be trusted with their 1 star. If they bought and wore and returned the shoes, you should listen to them. And if you're doing something creepy inside of a temple or a mosque or whatever, everybody should know about it.